Hey folks, welcome to Low Stakes Crusher, and today we're going to talk about ranges. If you watch other poker videos, instructional videos, hear poker nerds talking about poker, all you hear is range. This is the range I put them on. This is how my hand is against its range. Well, if you're just starting out, you haven't taken any time to start delving into some specific strategies of learning how to play poker better, you might not quite understand what that means. And since even in our time here on Low Stakes Crusher, with my shorter videos and not making these super deep dives like I talk about, you can't talk about learning to play poker better without talking about ranges, and you can't learn to play better without understanding ranges. So let's talk about ranges. Okay, so what does it mean? Well, right, people say, oh, I think my hand is good against that range. Or you're asking a question, should I have bet here? Well, what do you think their range is, right? Range. All right, what is it? A range of hands is simply what subset of possible hands could you have or could your opponent have in any given situation, as opposed to a particular hand. And it's funny, I'm reminded every time I'm sitting at a game, and now that I say this, you're going to hear this too, and maybe if you are this person, don't do this anymore. When people say, oh, I put you on ace king, or I put you on jacks, I mean, how can you, it's not possible or desirable to put a person on a specific hand. You don't have enough information to know for exactly what they have. Now, is there an occasional circumstance where it seems exceedingly likely? Yeah, sometimes, but very, very rare. What you're worried about is the range of hands. So let's explore what we're talking about when we say a range of hands. And the easiest way to start with that is, let's say you're in your regular weekly game, you play with all the same people, and you have for a long time, and you have this one dude who plays super tight, and he pretty much, I mean, he might limp around once in a while and whatnot, but if he raises pre-flop, he's got the goods. You've never seen him one time raise pre-flop with worse than jacks. You've never seen him raise ever with pocket tens and show it. You've never seen it. You've been playing with him for years. If he raises, his jacks are better for sure. Well, guess what? That's a range. If that means that, let's say he's in middle position, and the hand starts, and it folds to him, and he raises pre-flop, and your alarm bells go off, right? We all know this feeling, oh, geez, tight guy X made a raise. We know what that means, right? Well, without understanding the terminology, you are putting him on a pre-flop range. His pre-flop range, in this case, from what we've described, is jacks or better. That's a range. So you're not, he has aces, right? It's a range of hands. And I bring up that guy first just to illustrate what we're talking about by range, just because that's an easy one to get a grip on as far as what we mean by range. So he might also do that, by the way. Oftentimes those tighter guys, they will also do it with ace-queen suited once in a while, right? So let's say you've seen him raise ace-king, also. So his range includes ace-king suited, and then jacks or better. That's his range you're putting this person on when he raises pre-flop, because that's your experience of years of playing with him. Good job. You've put him on a range. Now, as the hand progresses, and we're going to get a little bit more in depth about it, but as the hand progresses, you can start to narrow his range. So let's say that your history with this person is, unless the flop is scary to him or he doesn't match it at all with his ace king, he just bets every street, right? So let's say he raises like kings, and as long as there's not an ace on the board, he bets like every time. He's not worried about a paired board. All he's worried about is an overcard to his king. So if there's no overcard, he's bet guy all the time. Okay, so when he raises pre-flop and the flop comes out, say king high, and he checks, based on the information that we just talked about, you could probably narrow his range to exclude aces and kings, because we just said that he has a long history of not betting if there's scare cards on the board, overcards. And a king is an overcard to queens or jacks. You can decide that based on my experience with this person, chances are pretty good that his range now no longer has aces and kings in it, because a king came out and he checked. Now, I'm drastically oversimplifying this. I'm simply describing it this way so we can get a handle on the idea of thinking in ranges as hands progress. That's the only reason I'm making this illustration. There's obviously more to it. There's a lot going on there. I'm just illustrating, right? And so this person is very cautious unless they have no scare cards at all, or if they make a set or a big hand, right? And likewise, if that flop had come out king high and he leads out and bets the pot, and your experience is if he leads out, he's either beating the board or hit the board, right? So so now you can exclude the jacks and queens from his range, most likely, because you don't ever see him bet with the king out there and he has an underpair to that. He just shuts down. There are people like that. So when that happens, now you can adjust your understanding of what his range of hands possibly contains by eliminating the jacks and the queens, because the king is out there and yet he's still comfortable betting. So that's telling you aces, kings, or ace-king. All based on this simplified idea of this super tight guy. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about ranges. There's obviously much more to it. We're just using this simplified model to start getting our minds around the idea of thinking about ranges as opposed to particular hands or just thinking about our own hand, right? We want to think about our hand in terms of ranges as well. And we're going to talk more about that. And by the way, I also wanted to say that these are, as I've mentioned, these are meant to be short videos. So there's a lot about understanding the interplay of board texture and ranges versus action and stack size, etc. And we'll have lots of talks about that in the future. I just wanted to get us going in the direction of ranges. That's all. Okay, so at a basic level, what you want to do is the type of analysis, excuse me, that we just described with Mr. Tight Guy. Apply that analysis or that thought process to every villain in every hand, right? Let's say you have the opposite kind of player, and that player, I was talking with a friend of mine recently. I used to play with a guy who literally raised every single time he was on the button. It didn't matter. If it had already been raised and re-raised, he put in another raise. If it hadn't been raised yet, he raised. If it was just one raise to it, he would 3-bet, right? They always raise the button. So what does that tell you about his range on the button, right? We just got done talking about this tight guy who never raises pre-flop unless he has jacks or better or ace-king, right? So when he raises pre-flop, that's his range. The flip side is this other guy I'm talking about now. He literally raises every time he's on the button. So his range is any two cards, right? Because if he's raising every time he's on the button, he clearly can't have it every time, right? So he is raising with a very, very wide range of hands. So what that means is your hand strength relative to his hand strength is better, right? If you're in a hand where you're willing to play, I'm saying. In a scenario where let's say, just make an example, you're in the big blind, and we've actually got a play in the blinds video coming too. Here, quick spoiler alert, don't call so much out of the blinds as you do now. I promise you. We're going to talk about that later. Let's say you're in the big blind and you have ace 4 not suited in the big blind. And when the hand starts, it folds all the way around to this guy, and predictably, he raises on the button because it's his button. He does that every hand, right? Well, ace 4 is well above average relative to any two cards, right? Ace 4 is well above the median hand strength, right? So if no one else is in the hand, and this person who literally raises every button raises, you can confidently take advantage of that. The most direct way to do that would be to raise him back and put pressure on whatever that mediocre holding is that he's raising with, to try to take it down right now. And if he calls, your range, I should say, not your hand, your range of what you would raise with certainly is ahead of his range, because his range is very, very wide. And if he has a history of defending his button raises equally wide, like let's say he probably in low stakes games, a lot of times he probably doesn't get played back at that much because people don't get played back at that much, right? But when he does, you realize, having played with him for a long time, that he rarely lets it go. He's sticky. He's going to defend it and see a flop. Well, if that's true, then his range, having called, is still very wide, well wider than yours, which means your range is stronger than his. And you can continue in the hand appropriately. Now, we don't have to go down the rabbit hole of what his post-flop tendencies are and all that. Like I said, we're going to have many videos about how players' ranges interact with board texture and such. I'm just trying to get us started down the path of thinking about ranges, right? So that's another example for you. Even though ace four, in an absolute hand strength way, is not a very strong hand, certainly not when you're out of position like you are in the big blind, but we have this history with this player where he raises every single time he's on the button, which means his range includes any possible cards, because he literally does it every time. So versus a range of any two cards, your ace four is a quite strong holding and can confidently raise back at him in an effort to take it right there or continue in the hand. And these are all reasons to think about the range of hands that people have. And I'm going to say one more thing about that, about how, as you play your game tonight, how you can start thinking about ranges, where this will come up, is that as the action moves through the hand, right? Let's say, and I'm not going to give you a detailed hand breakdown, don't worry, no graphics, just think about what I'm saying, because it's going to be very general without a lot of detail. You're in a hand with someone heads up, and the flop, and it doesn't even matter what you have, we're just talking about ranges. The flop comes, and it's a very, it's a coordinated flop, something like, say, 8, 10 jack with 2 hearts, right? And so that's a very coordinated board, and you're playing with against a player who plays pretty straightforward, right? If they make their hand, they're betting their hand. If they have nothing, they're not a big bluffer, and that's going to happen a lot. Again, low stakes games, people bluff nowhere near enough in low stakes games. So this guy is not much about bluffing. So you can be pretty confident when he bets he has it. Or another aspect would be when this person is playing a big draw, like a combination draw. Let's say this person has a straight draw and a flush draw, as many people will. They will bet that flop almost every time. And there are arguments for doing that almost every time, right? When you have a giant combo draw like that, where you think your flush or your straight would be good, you're betting because A, you can take it down right now, or B, you have a high likelihood of improving to what will likely be the best hand. 2 perfectly good reasons to bet. And you know that this person is down with that. Now, if they don't hit, like most people in low stakes games, again, they're going to be passive and not bet back at you. So let's say that for what, like I said, again, without the detail, we're not going to worry about why you're doing it, just talking about ranges. That flop comes out, and you are first to act, and you check, and they check behind. The turn comes, and it is the, the queen of hearts. So now straight draws get there, or let's make it even better, 9 of hearts, right? So now plenty of likely pre-flop holdings now have a very strong hand, right? Straights get there, the flush gets there, and you check, and that person checks again. Now your little range analysis hand should pop up here now, right? We just said that your history with this person tells you that if they have it, they're betting. They're going to try to get money in the pot, as they should. They're going to try to win. They did not bet the flop. And so that means that tells you something about they are not particularly afraid of big draws getting there and beating their hand, right? So they probably didn't flop anything big, like, say, a set. Or maybe if they have an overpair, they probably don't have an overpair. As very few people, even poor players in low stakes, are going to just check a very wet flop when they have a hand that has decent value but is likely to be beaten on future streets. Very few people are going to play that passively and hope for the best, right? So when that person checks back on the flop, you feel like the best they have there is, maybe something like middle pair, or a poor draw, like maybe a gutter, or maybe they have low hearts, maybe, but probably not even, right? So then the turn comes and all those draws come to fruition and they're still checking. Chances are pretty good they don't have the hearts, at least, right? If not nothing. Okay. And I'm kind of rambling. My point is, when that happens, when the flush gets there and they check, well, now you can adjust. They are defining their range for you, right? By saying, oh, well, I don't have a powerful flush here. That's why I'm checking, right? That's information you use to figure out the range of hands that they might have in this spot. And we can say, well, it certainly doesn't appear that it includes strong flushes, because that just got here and they're still checking and there's no money in the pot, right? So that's just another example. Hopefully I can edit that down. I rambled a lot in there. I'm driving in some traffic, but I'm hoping that you get the idea here of how you want your frame of mind to be when you're thinking about what your opponent is doing based on what their holding is. Stop trying to worry about, is it jacks or is it kings, and worry about the range of hands they might have based on the pre-flop action, or whatever street you're on, based on the action up to that point, right? That is a necessary, this is not optional. If you aren't thinking this way in games, you can't progress. You won't get better, I'm sorry to say. You've got to go to I don't know, what's the word, the business buzzword, paradigm. Your whole paradigm of how you look at poker has to be range centric. Think about ranges. And like I said, we're going to have a million videos where we talk about different spots and scenarios and how we play versus the opponent's range, and what we should be doing based on protecting our range, how to play balanced, which involves ranges, all of that kind of stuff. Those are for future times. But for today's takeaway, this is the takeaway. I'm going to try to do this every video. Today's takeaway: work on not thinking about particular hands. Think about the range of hands they might have based on the action that's occurring. So do it pre-flop, especially, because that'll get your brain going in that direction, right? When, like, let's say you're in a hand and you have kings, I guess, whatever. You're in middle position and you have kings, and you raise, and a tight player to your left re-raises you. A tight player now re-raises you. You need to immediately think about what is a range of hands that player is likely to raise in that spot with, right? And just use that, try to keep that frame of mind. And I'm not telling you what to do in this spot. I don't know the player you're talking about. It's a made-up scenario. But for the last time, that the point is to just get thinking in ranges. So do that tonight in your game and be better for it. And please come back soon. I've already got, I think, 3 more videos made. I'm still working on my audio. Hopefully this audio isn't terrible. And I'm also working on my little home studio area. All my videos are not going to be in the truck or the car, I promise. I will be actually making videos, like in a video space of some kind. But thanks very much for coming along. If you like these at all, please, I'm begging you, like the videos and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to try to build this, and you can tell, obviously, in this video, I'm not some kind of poker video making mastermind. I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better at making my thoughts more succinct and just in general making better, more interesting videos. If you like this, please like and subscribe. And we're going to be back soon with lots more stuff so you can get on with your low stakes crushing. See you later.